Hey guys, and welcome back to another of our team breakdowns for season 13 of SBL. Today I have with me Battlebane, the coach of the Swanky Sweepers.
Great, good to be here.
So we've got an interesting one from you this week. I say this week, however many this is going to go up in a week, who knows?
Yeah,
So you were the third last pick in the draft because you ended up as third last season in the monotype season.
yeah, that's right. I didn't love that position because it's not as close to the wheel as you'd like, and it's a bit too close to the middle for my liking. This is what it is. That's what you get when you finish third. But yeah, I didn't love it, but okay with how it turned out.
It was, to be fair, getting that third and a close enough to a wheel. I think it all came out very well.
Mm. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
s-
Look, it's better than going any sooner. I think the further I can get it from the middle, the happier I am.
yeah, that's fair. Well, we'll start off with the first pick of the draft for you. So this was pick 18 of the draft overall. You took your Mega. It was a
Yeah,
tier one
yeah.
in Blastoise.
Yeah, I went with Mega Blastoise. I played around with it a lot when I was doing some mock drafts before the season. And obviously, it was the cornerstone of my championship team from a couple seasons ago.
Yeah, it was.
And I just think it's so versatile. You can run it physical offense, special offense, setup sweeper. You can run it as a spin pivot, a momentum gainer. It's just can do everything. And so it was always virtually number one on my list. When we got to pick 15 and Arceus and Zacian were still on the table, I started getting my hopes up that maybe I could get one of them. In which case, I would have tried to get Blastoise with pick two, but I was happy to get Blastoise at pick one. That was my plan anyway.
Well, with us being able to run not just Megas, but the base forms as well, you do have your old faithful Shell Smash with
Yes,
with your White Herb. Now, whether you want to do that again, you did find out that one trick ponies don't work very,
yes.
very quickly when it came to that
Thanks
thing.
to yourself. You taught me that lesson early on in my championship season that a Mirror Herb quickly ruins that strategy. So I guess in a way, I
Yeah.
have you to thank for my championship run, really.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. It's the closest I'm going to get to a championship run for a while, I reckon. So moving on, we get your next pick, which, comes fairly quickly.
Yep.
Uh, this next one, you were able to pick up your restricted. Now, this one I was very interested to find out your choices on. You took Eternatus.
Mm. Yeah, so again, I did a bit of playing around in preseason with Nick and Alex and just trying out some of the different things we hadn't used before. Obviously, I don't know if the SBL's ever had a season where Ubers were allowed, but I haven't played in a competitive format where Ubers were allowed, so I hadn't really had that much experience using them.
No,
And
we've never had a restricted available. We've had seasons in the past where you could almost call them, I guess, almost lower level restricteds were legal, like
mm,
some of the tier one ultra beasts that we were tossing up whether they were restricted or not have been
yeah,
legal before, but nothing on the level of the actual restricted tier we've got here.
yeah. So I'd sort of spent a bit of time playing with most of the restricted monsters through preseason, and Eternatus was kind of a surprise for me as well. To be fair, I don't think I factored in how fast it is. It's really, really quick, and it's obviously super bulky too, as most legendaries tend to be. So, that the speed tier that it's at, mixed with its bulkiness, and then the ability to run it as either a bit of a wall or a wall breaker. I like versatility. That's kind of my style. I like to pick up mons that can fill a multitude of different roles. And so Eternatus was always pretty high on my list. Like I said, I would have loved to have had, the top tier in Arceus or Zacian or Yveltal. But Eternatus was probably, if not four, definitely five on that list for me.
That's fair. Yeah, the poison dragon is just such an interesting typing, being able to
Really
have the
weak to
answer to
very
your own
little.
weaknesses.
Yeah, yeah, it's really not weak to much. And yeah, I love the speed tier of it combined with the bulk. It's hard to deal with.
So next up, your third pick, the arguably the greatest Pokemon to have been made competitively, at least VGC wise. We
Yeah.
have Incineroar.
Yes, yeah, I'm considering just running this one with the nickname of Wolfie VGC every week, but we'll see how that goes.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, in Thin, it's one of those. I think there was quite a few tier three mons that just have insane value at that tier. Grimsnarl, Klefki, and Incineroar probably headlining that pack. Um, and Incineroar is just so freaking annoying, so hard to deal with. The typing is so good. Being immune to Prankster is so good. The parting shot, fake out, Intim, it's just disgusting to deal with. And to be able to do that, but also still hit pretty hard, just really appeals to me. So I knew it would go fairly early, given how much it can add to a team with the momentum you can gain with pivoting with parting shot. I knew I had to get on that early if I wanted it.
I will mention Grimmsnarl is a tier 2.
Oh, well, that's why it's so good,
So
I guess.
yeah, no, look, tier 3 has always been one of my favorite tiers when it comes to these. When we used to have the 5 tier system, tier 3 was always the one where I had the most value put in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think it still is, personally.
Yeah, I found that a lot
Maybe
in preseason mocks. It just there's a lot of stuff you can grab in tier three that's just nice to have.
there were so many for tier 3s that we had considered for tier 2, but we're like, well, we have to put value tier 3, and I think value tier 3s became a very big part of this draft.
Mm,
So next up is an old faithful of yours.
yes.
We have the hammer.
Yeah. Yeah. The my little pink friend Tinkerton. It just yeah. Again, this is another one I used in my championship run a couple of seasons ago, so it's quite familiar with for me. Brings a little bit of comfort in that, but again, the versatility of it's just awesome. Fairy steel typing in and of itself is putrid. Just disgusting to try and deal with. And you combine that with how bulky it is. It's got really high attack, so it can hit really hard. You can use it as a screen setter, rock setter, status abuser. It kind of, again, versatility is my calling card, and I just love that about it. So being able to pick it up there to add some more bulk to the team that was already quite bulky with what I'd picked so far, I was really happy with that.
I will say, when it comes to Tinkerton itself, every time a new generation comes out, I attempt to do a playthrough of just new Pokemon,
Mm,
just because I like to learn how the new Pokemons run. Tinkerton
yep.
was my Fairy Steel on my team, and as a playthrough mon, it is horrible.
Yes,
It
it's not.
doesn't hit hard enough in playthrough teams, I found when I was playing it. So I think this is
Yep.
a Pokemon that was designed more for competitive, with
Yep.
how
Yeah, 100%.
versatile it is, but for a playthrough team, it's not as good. So I think
Yep.
I was always on the fence with it until you did your season with it, and I went, "Oh, this is what it's supposed to do." Now I understand.
Yeah, and it's so physically bulky and it's quite hard to hit. So even, you chuck a Rocky helmet on and you can switch it in on everything and it gets fake out just to interrupt momentum. It's just good. It just does
Yeah,
everything pretty well.
it's once you actually look into this thing, it is actually nuts.
Yeah.
So then we get your fifth pick. So we finally get your tier 1. So being that you got a tier 1 mega, you were only able to take multiples of tier 2 and below.
Yep.
Your tier 1 was Annihilate.
Yeah, so the theme of my draft so far had been very bulky, very defensive, which is that's kind of how I play generally speaking. But it's going to be very hard in a high power format season to just purely play defensive and stall and that sort of thing, given the amount of damage that's there. So I wanted to pick up some sort of a nuke to be able to bomb things with and annihilate. If you can get it in, switch it in on a couple of special attacks that it resists. If you build up more than 2 Rage Fists, it's going to just about OHKO anything. So I really like Annihilate. I hadn't used it before this season at all, but playing with it in preseason, you can do so much with it. Chuck a assault vest on it or a scarf and Rage Fist or Drain Punch or anything like that, and it just goes off. So I don't love its speed, but bulky offense really appeals to me. So I'm quite happy with that pick.
I think this is the first season Annihilate's been legal. I
Definitely
think
for us, yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty sure for us it's the first time. It might have been legal once a couple of seasons ago, but I don't believe it was. I think this is the first time.
Mm.
So it will be very interesting to see how it performs. I'm expecting it to perform insane. I really do. I expect this thing to be, if not towards the top of the Golden Fist, I expect it to be pretty high up in that top 30, no matter what.
Yeah,
I
well,
would
you and
not
me
be
are both
surprised
hoping.
if I see this thing in the high up in the MVP votes.
Mm. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I really do like playing it. It's just got to be positioned well because it's not
Correct. Yeah.
balanced.
Yeah. No, I agree
So
with that.
as long as I position it well, try and get it set up, then I agree. I think it can really go off.
So your next one, we're going back to arguably another defensive pick,
Hmm.
but it is still quite good offensively, as was proven last season. Cornerstone.
Yeah, I Cornerstone's probably my favorite Ogre. Just sturdy is just in a high power format. Sturdy can be such a broken ability. I really like all the Ogre for their increased crit chance, which saw Wellspring obviously banned before the season kicked off. So that's really fun. Extra crits can be great, and the ability to go, you can go pretty bulky with it, max HP, spiky shield kind of stuff. But you can also go run it, swords dance, trailblaze, sweep. So again, versatility is what I keep coming back to. Ogre really brings that, and I just like that. I needed something that can hit pretty hard, and hit my flying types and that sort of thing as well. So
Yeah, no, Cornerstones. It's proven, and when everything was coming out, especially VGC wise, we were all like, well, Cornerstone's kind of, other than actual teal mask, Cornerstone's kind of the one you don't look at.
mm,
But I would say in the last 8 months or so, Cornerstone has been getting so much more looks into. It's so much better than people gave it credit for.
yeah, yeah, and just
So I think,
getting
yeah.
a free sash on anything is nice. That's why I think Sturdy's just so good because you can either switch it in to tank a hit on something it outspeeds, or get a turn of setup before you go off. So I really like it.
And even just getting a rock type that isn't actually a problem at being a rock type. We don't have many of
Exactly.
those these days, sadly.
No, exactly. I mean, we saw the disappointment of Rock Type last season with not even arguably just our best player ever just really struggling to get it going with Rock Type. So it's good to get a Rock Type that doesn't suffer being a Rock Type.
Yeah. So moving on, your final tier 2. So this is your final of any tier that is not above 4.
Yeah,
Again, we're going back to bulk. This is something I have used quite a few times. Cresselia.
yeah. Chrisella, look, full disclosure here, I thought it got something that I recently found out it doesn't. So that was a little bit disappointing.
I
Um,
see.
in preseason, when I was stuffing around doing some stuff with Alex, he used it once, and I think we must have been playing Napdex Anything Goes because he had cosmic power on it, and I
Okay.
thought the bulk of Cresselia with cosmic power is disgusting, so I'll definitely take that. And I needed a psychic type anyway. Turns
Yep.
out in Napdex Ubers, it does not get cosmic power. However, I do still really like it. Again, it's really bulky, but to be able to abuse its bulk and constantly recover with Moonlight, and then even say if we go back to Annihilate, if it's come in early and not teed off, then I can Lunar Dance it back to full and get it back in. So I really like the ability Cresselia gives to be pivoting sweepers in and out, and not necessarily, or maybe even just be able to mitigate some bad placement previously.
The Lunar I will say, Lunar Dance into Annihilate is going to be scary because Annihilate retains all the damage it's taken for Rage Fist.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So
Every
I
hit it's
really
taken
like,
for Rage Fist is still there after the Lunar
yeah,
Dance.
really like the synergy between those. And even something like Eternatus, right? It's so bulky that it can be really hard to kill. You finally get it down to low, and Cresselia comes in and tops it off again. And yeah, so I really like its synergy with some of my bulky sweeper types.
Yeah. No, I think on a team like this, Cresselia has, when we're talking about the old days of Draft League, back when I was starting this, and uh, Draft League was in infancy back in the early to mid 2010s. Cresselia was one of the best bulk. It was one of the best war Pokemon out there, except for like Lugia. You know,
Yeah,
it's really fallen off its pedestal these days. It's still incredibly good, but it just doesn't work as well as it used to, sadly, because we've just got so much better stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Also, it hasn't really been around in regional dexes for people to use in regional dex tournaments. So
Definitely has been a little bit of a victim of power creep, but yeah, I think in the right circumstances, it can definitely be effective, which I'm hoping to demonstrate this season.
next up is your first of your tier 4s. So This one has been traded out, but we
Mm?
will go over it to begin with, and we'll go through the trades and stuff later.
Yep.
So this one you picked Lapras as your first tier four.
Yeah, I think given I had to pick T4s as Terras, I think Lapras works really well as a Terramon. You can build it, defensively either with Terra Steel or something like that, or you can run it uh, Terra Fire and Terra Blast into your weaknesses, which is really nice too. So I liked it for that. I like again, it's bulky. You can run it as a Stormon if you want to. You can run it offensively if you want to, and yeah, I just really like bulky versatility. So that was my thought process with Lapras.
Yeah, and I can see obviously, like we said, you did trade. I guess we can talk about the trades for them here as well.
Yeah,
Because you then decided not to put it as one of your Terra captains because you immediately traded it into Sneasel right after the draft. Now,
yeah. Well,
was that because of the plan with Alex?
no, it wasn't initially. It wasn't initially. That worked out nicely for me. But I went into Sneasel because, well, for one, I didn't want to not have the ice type there. So if I was going to drop it, it had to be for another ice type. But two, I wanted just another high speed tier. But as you can probably see as we flesh it out, my team is actually not super fast. There's a
No.
couple of things that are relatively speedy, but I just wanted something that could get in and hit quickly, right? And I thought Sneasel, stab knockoff, that could do some damage. So that was why I immediately used as we call it a mulligan
Yep.
just after the draft because I thought I kind of need a higher speed tier to get in there and just if I need to quickly finish something off, whether it's a choice band Sneasel or whatever it is. But yeah, that was my thought process with swapping Lapras out, and I believe I had designated my Terra types to my other T4s anyway, so Lapras wasn't going to be as effective as I'd hoped.
Yeah. And then once that was done, we had our first and currently only team to team trade between yourself and Alex of the Stealth Squadron. You guys swapped around Sneasel and Piloswine. So
Yeah,
we kind
well,
of went over this with Alex a bit. He sort of said his side and what he believes with what you were saying. So was it
yeah.
more you also wanted Piloswine, but you didn't he'd already picked it and then you needed to try and get a rocker or something?
Yeah, exactly. So I had wanted the Palace Swine anyway. I'd planned to take it with my next pick before he took it. So that's how I ended up with not getting Palace One initially. So we did the draft. We were sitting in the same room when we were drafting, so we were able to sort of have this conversation as we were going. And yeah, he when I took the Sneasel, because I took the Sneasel on his suggestion after I missed out on Palace One.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and so once I'd done that, he sort of got to looking at his team. He needed a dark type. And so I wanted the Palace one anyway. Again, I've used it in my previous championship run, so I'm familiar and comfortable with it. It was really effective that season, so I was happy to do that trade, get an extra rocker. I can use it for a few things. It can choice band, ice shard, hit really hard. It's also just really bulky if I want to run it Evia light, thick fat. So I really like Palace one. Yeah, so I was happy for that trade.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so we come on to your last two. Your both of these you designated as your Terra captains. So the
Yep.
first one you picked was Palosand.
Yeah. I wanted a ground type, and obviously this was before I'd done the trade with Alex for Palace one. Um, but I really liked it. Again, we played with it in preseason. I think it can be quite effective with Terra if you need to, but it's also just really quite bulky. It can be really annoying to deal with. If I can swap it in on like an Aquajet or something, it can also get really tanky really quickly. So yeah, that was my thought process there. I wasn't putting a stack of thought into my tier fours because they're kind of just going to be brought more as niche needed. They won't be as often, but I wanted again bulky versatility and Palisand sort of fit that for me.
Well, with water compaction giving you that buff in defense, giving it Terra types that don't care about water, getting rid of
Mm.
its weakness to water from ground typing.
Yep.
It just means that you can get this thing to be bulky and then it can just go high.
Yeah,
You're
exactly, and
able
that's
to
why I
start
was
swinging.
swapping up with my stab Terra. Do I go ground or ghost? Eventually I landed on ghost so that I could Terra out of the water weakness, but still keep the water compaction ability.
Yeah, I think Ghost is the correct option there, if I'm perfectly honest with you. It just feels nicer with no longer being weak to what you almost need to be hit by to get your buff.
Yeah. So getting the rid of the ground type for that, and I don't lose then the ghost typing for spin blocking.
Yeah. And your final one. Now, originally when you drafted this, I went, "What is he doing?" And then realized that it was 100% going to be a Terra captain.
Yeah.
You took Rotom Fan.
Yeah, commonly known as the worst Rotom. Um, but if you could Terra out of its weaknesses and keep the levitate ability, I think it can actually be just as effective as the rest of them. I needed an extra hazard clearer, and it learns defog, so that was important for me. I've used a Rotom variant again. I keep going back to it, but in my season a couple of seasons ago, so I'm quite comfortable with using the Rotoms. And given the right Terra types, it can be just as hard to deal with as the rest of them. So I gave it a couple of defensive Terras, and my thought process with that was, yeah, it can pivot, it can set screens, it can defog. So yeah, I just wanted a bit more versatility out of those last couple of picks.
Yeah, understandable. Well, that takes us to the end of your draft. So this team, yes, this team is very bulky. Like I've said before, like I said in my team breakdown, bulky offense has always been my style. So this is a very bulky team that is going to be hard to tear through.
Yep, that's
So
the
it'll be
plan.
interesting to see if this can take you to your second ring.
We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. There's a couple of people with some crazy teams this season, so it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, don't tell me about it. Alrighty, well that brings us to the end. Is there anything else you want to say or mention before we sign off?
No, that's great. Thanks a lot.
Beautiful. All right, thank you very much. Thanks guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.